Hello everybody, welcome back to another Walk with Raya. Today I'm going to be doing a really quick chat and it's just going to be the start of something that I would love probably to go into more detail in, but I just thought I would quickly go over a few points that I've really been processing and thinking about lately, and that is our ability to regulate our emotions. I know a lot of mums personally, I have a lot of nephews and nieces and my sisters all have kids, and I know how hard it is, especially as a mum. I don't know personally, but I can see how hard it is to be able to regulate your emotions while also trying to regulate your kids' emotions. But I really do feel like it's really important for us as adults to learn how to regulate our emotions, because most likely we didn't grow up actually learning it from our parents, because most likely our parents also didn't know how to regulate their emotions either. So I guess I just want to quickly define what I mean by regulating your emotions. Having the ability to either express or suppress your emotions depending on the context you're in, depending on your values, like the ability to sometimes express them, sometimes suppress them for a moment or for a time, and then, express them later on. It just pretty much avoids acting on your emotions in the heat of the moment. And so I just want to quickly go through like my childhood. I was raised with probably an overexpression of emotions, and my house was not very calm. I don't know if I've went into too much detail here on YouTube, but I can if you'd like, or if you have any questions, just let me know and I can go more detail into things. But our home definitely wasn't very regulated. And I mean, my parents are amazing, by the way. They were always doing the best they could raising us, but it was just, it was a hard upbringing, and that's just the truth to it. And I feel like me and my sisters definitely got a little bit screwed up from it, but I can see that happening in a lot of people's lives, even if their home, like, because our home was obviously like, there was a lot of violence, anger, all those kinds of things. So even if you didn't grow up in a home like that, most likely there was still issues with in regards to self-regulation or the expressing of emotions or suppressing of emotions. So I feel like homes, with all people, there's so many people that I've talked to, I feel like homes could either go one way. So my home obviously was like an overexpression of emotions, but then sometimes I think maybe, I don't know, but maybe like people's, like my husband's home, like their home was always really calm, but I'm like, was there a bit of a suppression of emotions? And so like, I'm not really sure, I didn't grow up in that home, but like it's just cool to think, what would my childhood have been like? What was my upbringing like? And how has that impacted me today? I feel like even just having this conversation will probably be really helpful for you to start thinking about what your home life was like, what your current home life now is like, and what ways you'd like to improve it. And usually it does require intentionality. So you have to be intentional when it comes to learning how to regulate your emotions. And you also have to have a level of self-care at that current time to be able to regulate your emotions. So for example, if you're thinking, okay, I'm going to try and regulate my emotions, but you're not really participating in any kind of self-care rituals or anything, you might be feeling totally stressed and overwhelmed, but you've got so many other things to do, you've got so many other people to help, there's so many people that are dependent on you, and you're just putting yourself last all the time. Usually it would be really hard to start working on self-regulation. So I think number one, it requires intention. Number two, it actually really does require a level of self-care so that you're in the right mindset and mind frame to be able to start practicing better self-regulation. One thing that I really find that's really helped me is actually seeing a psychologist. I really think it's helped me because I grew up in such an overexpression of emotions kind of home, and like anger often did turn into violence. Like when I married Jordan, if there was any sort of anger or frustration in him, like my nervous system automatically got stressed out. And like, so I would suppress emotions because I would try and keep the peace. Like I'm a bit of a peacemaker. And so instead of bringing up like a worrying kind of or a stressful situation or something that I feel like's hurting me or, like just not making the atmosphere very great, I would suppress it. I would get really quiet. I would suppress it. I would not bring anything up. Whereas that's not healthy either. So I think I kind of went to the complete opposite end of the spectrum compared to what I grew up with. I kind of automatically went to the other end of the spectrum. And so seeing a psychologist has really helped me to understand that, having all different emotions, like say, for example, my husband getting frustrated over something doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. I don't need to be scared. It doesn't mean it's going to result in him behaving in a bad way. And so like there's no need for me to be scared. It's literally just being like, okay, he's a little bit frustrated right now. I don't automatically have to blame myself. How can I help him in this situation? How can I take a bit of stress off him? And it's really just helped. So number one, I really do think, I guess this is kind of like a solution or something that you can put on your to-do list for this year to start next year in 2025, is to see a psychologist, because I just think that it's so beneficial talking to a professional about this kind of stuff. You can even get their advice, but then you can also see things from their point of view, because they're standing outside the situation looking in, and they can give you more of a balanced view of what's actually happening in your life and ways to go about it. So I definitely think speaking to a professional is so good. Another thing that's really helped me, I think, is actually like a lot of journaling. So journaling a lot of my emotions and actually getting it out on paper. I think that my brain works better when I see things written out. So that's really helped. Like if I'm really stressed or anxious about something, I literally journal about it, and it just helps me to really process and get it out there. Another thing really helps me actually is prayer time. Being a Christian, I really find it so beneficial just to pray and for God to really like make it clear to me whether something needs to be brought up or whether something just needs to be like, so if I pray about an issue, say for example between me and Jordan, because that's the closest relationship I have is with Jordan, so usually it means that it's probably the relationship that there's the most conflict, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing at all. And so if there's certain things that are really bothering me about our relationship, instead of bringing them up straight away, which is what I probably would do if I was like what my family was like growing up. So instead of just, acting on my emotions right there in the moment, and then also instead of what I was doing, which was fully suppressing all my emotions, and then eventually, they're probably going to come out. That's not fun for anyone. Just learning how to really take it to God. Like that's what I really think's helped me in prayer, is being like, okay, God, like here's an issue. I just don't know whether it's worth bringing up. And like, I really feel a lot of clarity and peace after discussing it with God. I really feel like it. So obviously if you're not a Christian or something, even just like being able to outwardly process with a trusted friend or someone, just someone that you really trust that can really speak truth into your life, or even just be a listening ear as you process it. And then I think sometimes that can help you be like, puts things into perspective. Like, actually that probably isn't an issue worth bringing up. Or like, that probably is something that you should bring up. So I guess it can just depend on depending on the situation, but by actually speaking it out loud, I think it can really help. So I really hope that this has helped, I guess, you to think about your current emotional state, and also like what category you may fit into, and hopefully you can think of some action points to help start your self-regulation journey, because I really think it can affect our kids, our grandkids, it can affect our homes, it can affect our marriages, it can literally affect so much around us if we do not develop the ability to be able to regulate our emotions. Make sure that you do subscribe to my channel, because I do try and post these weekly, and also a lot of other health and fitness resources that I want you to be able to utilize to help you on your health and fitness journey and help you become your healthiest and happiest self. So that's my main aim. So I hope you enjoyed this chat. I'll see you next time on Walk with Raya.